meeting of the, have you already called to order?
No.
Okay,
We're
we'll call
waiting for
the meeting of the Finance Committee to order. We'll note that all members are present. Mr. Dwayne, Mr. Nicholson, Mr. Sladek, and myself. Could we have a
So moved.
motion to approve
Second.
the agenda? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 3 is the approval of the minutes of the Finance Committee.
So moved. Second.
From January 25th. Moved by Mr. Dwayne, seconded by Mr. Nicholson. Any amendments to it? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4 is request for the city assessor to cancel certain real estate and property taxes.
In your packet are a number of cancellation of personal property taxes. All of them pertain to the properties actually not being within the city of Green Bay as of 1/1 of 2015. City Assessor Rush Schwant is here if you have any questions.
Mr. Sladek?
Yes, Sal, I have a question about the one with Sodexo Operations LLC.
4E?
Yes.
Okay.
My question is, it says that these assets are property tax exempt because they're located at St. Mary's Hospital, but they're owned by a for-profit firm. So is the location what determines that they are property tax exempt as opposed to the ownership?
Right, per statute, anything that's located at a nonprofit hospital is exempt.
Okay, thank you. Nothing more.
Anything else?
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Dwayne, seconded by Mr. Nicholson to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 5 is request by purchasing manager to extend the cell tower lease located in Fisk Park for an additional 30 years.
In your packet, there's a memo on the last page that purchasing manager Rick had put together for this committee. So Rick, if you want to just highlight some of those bullet points. that
Sure.
were
The
included in that
the
memo.
request is for the committee to approve a 30-year extension to an existing lease for a cell tower site located in Fisk Park. It's the north tower, the smaller tower. At the last meeting, I wasn't in attendance, and there were some questions about the cell tower market in general, and so I put together this market analysis, which is in your packet. This information, I started collecting this in 2013 when I became the manager of the department. Anecdotal evidence from Wisconsin agencies and a consultant that we've used in the past regarding cell towers. So a cell tower agreements typically run 20 to 30 years. The requirement for a long-term contract is we don't deal with the carriers like Cellcom or Verizon. We deal with companies that erect the towers and then sell the space to the carriers. They need long-term agreements in order to make their sites attractive to the carriers. This particular tower was first leased in 1997, and the lease expires in 2021. So they only have 6 years remaining on the lease. They lost a tenant, and they're having a hard time attracting a new tenant without a long-term agreement. The current income on this tower is $14,720 a year. That goes to $17,400 next year in the remaining 5 years. This particular agreement has an escalation clause of 20% every 5 years. Escalation clauses, we have agreements that run from 3.5% per year to 5% per year to 25% through 5 years. So this is, the escalator is kind of right in the middle of the average. This is on the low end of annual revenues for cell towers, but it's not a highly desirable site. It is within the range of the market. Leases run anywhere from about $10,000 a year on up to $40,000 a year.
How tall is this
one-
tower?
What's that?
How tall is this tower?
This one, I just visually drove by, and I would guess it's probably 50 feet tall, but that's just a layman's guess.
The taller they are, what the...
Well, I think
more
probably
they can
the
attract?
taller they are, the more signals that they can intercept and transmit. I don't know that much about the technology. This particular tower is at the football field at West High School, and it's on a stanchion that's being used for field lights. There's a tower on the north end of the field and one on the south end of the field. The one on the south end of the field is considerably taller, and the rent on that particular tower is a little bit higher.
I'm a neophyte to this whole question. I know they sound like big numbers and everything in the past, and I don't think, at least I didn't give it any real scrutiny. I think other people were handling it, and, you know, we don't pay that much attention sometimes to all of our minutes as we should. But I'm more interested in it now because, at least anecdotally, I mean, we're looking at a cell tower that it's rumored that it might be as much as $6,000 a month that's being earned, or possibly even more. And well, but that was quite a bit taller tower, and I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but how do we get in to know what the real market is?
Well, I have people contact me all the time that want to buy out our lease agreements because they feel they can give us a lump sum payment, and then they can turn around but they want a never-ending easement on that property, so they would own the rights forever. But based on what they've offered for some of these sites, that gives me an idea of where the market is. Now, I don't know what kind of a tower that they're planning at Northeast Wisconsin Lutheran.
I don't even know if that's accurate.
Yeah.
This is strictly anecdotal. I have no proof of any of it. I'm just told that
Yeah.
there could be as much as that.
All of the
And
towers.
so I'm just sort of curious, you know, are we giving away something really cheaply, or is this really the market value of it? And
I'm not an expert on the market value. As I said.
is there anybody we can consult to know about this?
Well, we did. One of the consultants is on the sheet here, Shane Bailey from Bagley Wireless Consulting. The city has used his input in the past, and he stated that typical terms of 25 years, benchmark annual revenue on average is about $20,000.
And this one's going to yield what?
This one is for the first year of the new agreement, is going to yield $20,909, but that won't start until 2021. In the next 5 years,
What are we getting right now,
$17,424 per year.
is what we're getting now.
Yeah, and that is the lowest revenue stream that we have on the towers, but it's the least desirable.
What makes it desirable, undesirable?
Well, the number of carriers that they have on the tower, and this one only has one carrier. The most that we have on any of our towers are 2 carriers. Most of our towers aren't the mega towers that you might see around the city. They're not that tall. They're not as tall as what you might see on top of a water tower, as an example. And so that, again, I don't know the technology, but that may limit the number of carriers that they can attract on a given site.
It's just to service a small area then, you think?
Yes.
Or, does the height of it determine how far they can service?
Again, I'm not an expert.
I'm just trying to
Yes.
use, you know, naive or uninformed logic, you know?
You know, you look at that site in Fisk Park, it's a relatively flat area of the city. It's surrounded by trees, so I would surmise that it doesn't have a broad or a long broadcast area. as compared to towers that are twice that tall. But again,
Have we got any experts on the committee or people that have some knowledge of it other than what we've been able to gather here? When you say this Begless Wireless Consulting Services, are we hiring him to get this advice, or is this just?
no, this
something
was
that he just gave
basically
you?
a phone call, and he worked with my predecessor, and I just reached out and asked him for some input when I did this initial survey in 2013. I've talked to Brown County, I've talked to the water utility. They both manage towers within the city limits. And these numbers, these ranges that I've given you today are confirmed by Brown County Brown County and the water utility. I've talked to my peers within other municipalities in the state, and again, these ranges, the average length of contracts, the annual revenues are very consistent. Now, individual towers have more
You think
value
we should
than
get
others.
into the business ourselves, maybe?
It's probably a risky business. Who knows where the technology is going to be? And will cell towers become obsolete? Yeah, I have no idea, but there is still a market, and this company is offering a $25,000 incentive to get us to extend this contract so that they can market it. They will also give us 20% of any new revenue that might come in if they're able to attract a second tenant to that tower.
Well, okay, I'm just bathed in ignorance. And of course, they did buy New York for what, $25 worth of trinkets at one time? I don't know. So I don't know if I'm giving it away for trinkets, even though it sounds like a big number, or if that's really a good number. I guess I'd like to talk to somebody who's got real brains on this, that maybe wouldn't necessarily be friends of the company or whatever it is,
I have met with a
because they really seem to want them.
company that did an analysis of all 6 sites for the city. And this is a company that I said, they would offer the city cash to buy out those leases, and they'd turn around and market them for the next 100 years. And so, put it into perspective.
What kind of numbers were they offering?
I have that here, just bear with me. The company's called Landmark. Well, I must not have that with me.
But they were wanting to buy out the existing contract with some money on top of that?
No, they wouldn't buy out the existing contract, they would buy out our rights. And for all 6 of the towers that the city manages, they would have offered $2.8 million, but they would have asked for a 99-year easement on that property, and they would have enjoyed all of the revenue that's ever going to come in off those properties. In the next, here it is. No, it's not. The cash,
What's our total income in the city?
$173,000 per year.
73.
And for the life cycle of each one of these contracts, and they mature between 2021 and I believe it's 2042. The revenue is $5.8 million for the city, and that's without any of these extensions. When we've had offers,
So we get $173,000 a year, and they were willing to pay 2.8 million, you said?
Yes.
Which would be about 15 years' worth at 173. I mean, I'm just doing my terrible shorthand here.
But they would own the rights to those sites for 99 years. Or perpetual, I can't remember what exactly that offer was. And I've discussed those offers with both the Director of Finance and with Tony in the Law Department.
Did you do any negotiating? Did you try to up it at all?
You bet. I mean, we didn't have the $25,000 incentive. And, you know, based on their first offer, we didn't have the 20% share of new revenue based on their first offer.
Ray, well, I kind of monopolize this. I don't know if anyone else has questions about it. Anything else from the committee?
I guess I'd make the observation that the information that you got from the other communities is helpful, because at least it tells me that the revenue that we're now getting and the revenue that's being proposed is in the ballpark of what these things go for. So, I mean, if we look at Eau Claire's at $21,600 annually, Waukesha's got one at $9,600, $15,000 in Swamico. So when you talk about, you know, we're now at 17 and we're going to, we'd start this one at over around 21, right?
20,000.
With an escalator, so
$900.
the amount that's being offered seems like it clearly is in the ballpark of how these things go. So, I mean, that's not a fine analysis, but
Is that amount, so is that amount plus 20% of the revenue?
If they were to gain or able to attract a second carrier. So there's one carrier on that tower today, and that's the revenue that we're enjoying. The second carrier, let's say the second carrier, I have no idea what they charge the carriers, but let's say it's half of what they're paying us, or twice what they're paying us. So say the second carrier paid them $20,000, we would see a revenue increase of $4,000 once that second carrier got added. We're adding a second carrier, I believe, at Edison Park as an example, and I think that's another $17,000 per year in revenue for the city.
I'm gonna depend on my Brown County taxpayer member here for all my, this kind of high finance analysis.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I did find that document that I was looking for. The estimated purchase price for this particular tower was $230,000. So, and with
So-
a 17,000.
My God, that's a joke. That's a year, not even a year and a half of revenue.
No, that's
That's just
for
one.
this
Oh, that's
one
just
site.
one. I'm sorry.
That's for this one site.
One tower.
And it's by far the lowest site, the least attractive, if you want to call it that, to this management company.
Okay, all right, well, thanks for the information. What's the pleasure of the committee?
I'll move approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Slavic and seconded by Alderman Dwayne to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6, discussion with possible action on Netzinger et al. Versus City of Green Bay litigation. Do you want us to go into closed session on this now, or are we prepared to do this?
Attorney Walkowitz is
Yeah, I
here
would-
to this point.
If the committee would like to go into closed session to discuss any questions that it may have, there, you should have a memo that was distributed.
We did not distribute the memo because
Oh.
Joanne wanted us to hand it out this time.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else,
Thank you.
is there any other item here that,
There is number,
it's Mr. Weary's items, and he's not here yet, so.
He's not coming.
He's not
number,
coming?
right, I
Number
had
12.
reached out to him this morning, asking him how he would like to approach it. I did tell him that we did receive pricing on this, as well as Brown County would be willing to share the cost of the initial hardware. We would be responsible for the streaming piece of it, and then also the of $7,200 and the ongoing maintenance. I don't know if we had an opportunity to reach out to those vendors to see if they discount that any further at the request of Alderman Weary. I did not get any response, so I'm guessing he may not be.
Well, number 7 and 8, I think we're just, why don't we just handle those and just hold them, I guess.
Okay.
We have a motion to hold 7 and 8.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Sladek, seconded by Mr. Duane.
Yes.
Okay, with you, to hold items 7 and 8 until our next meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Then we can entertain a motion then, if Mr. Sladek, if you'd like to do the honors, that,
Did you want that for 7 and 8 for both, for both Tom as this primary and then Tom Duane as the secondary?
yeah.
Okay.
So, would you like to make a motion that we go into closed
Yes,
session
Mr.
pursuant?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into closed session pursuant to 19.85 sub 1 sub B Wisconsin stats for purposes of conferring with legal counsel.
And I guess you gotta read the whole thing.
Well, I thought you told me I didn't.
No, it was just only the beginning. You were reading the first words that didn't
For
really
purposes
fit.
of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved.
Keep going.
The committee may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to 19.85 sub 2 Wisconsin stats to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll take a roll call on that. Roll call, Mr. Sladek.
Aye.
The chairman votes aye.
Aye.
Mr. Nicholson, aye. We're back in open session. I guess we'd entertain a motion to proceed with the settlement as recommended by our city attorney.
Second.
You got it?
Make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved by Duane, seconded by Mr. Sladek. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. I think the only thing we have left on our agenda is report of the finance director.
Just a couple updates. As you're aware, we have elections coming up on April 5th, so our clerk staff is busy getting out, preparing for that, along with absentee ballots. So the assessor's office handling personal property taxes right now, along with all the 2015 building permits. Notices to those businesses will be going out in mid-April. Purchasing, you'll see quite a few capital equipment requests coming through in the next several months. So there's quite a few on tomorrow's agenda for parks. And then finance, we continue to work on 2015 and 16 years, 15 years and in 2016. So that's an update from my area.
Do we have a motion to receive that?
Motion to receive and place on file.
Second.
Okay, moved by Duane, seconded by,
I'll give these back to her. She needs those.
okay, by Mr. Sladek to receive the report of the finance director and place on file. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Tom, I'll take that letter.
By
I'll
Mr.
give that back
Duane,
to him.
seconded by
That's good.
Mr. Sladek to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We are
I
adjourned.
gotta fly home, get ready for
When?
that.